when we find ourselves possibly feeling confused, uncertain, and anxious for the future, we are presented with a great opportunity of deep inner transformation of our consciousness on an individual and collective level. And so TAFFD's vision is to create a bridge to align people, ideas, and visions to come together in an open, non-judgmental, collaborative atmosphere so that we can make use of our ideas to expand into new connections like a web. Each person's state of consciousness is unique to them, but when we come together collectively, there is the possibility for elevating consciousness on a larger scale when we stay present. Diversity of opinion is very important so that we may see the bigger picture and have as broad a perspective as possible so that we are able to encapsulate all the issues humanity is facing on a conventional level so we can put the pieces of the puzzle together and create a roadmap for success and abundance for all. I will not be focusing on the technical points or technologies, as I will leave that to the experts. Rather, I present my own truth, speaking from my state of consciousness that I believe is the way in which I see the world and how all the moving parts are coming together. We are seeing alchemy take place every moment, as science has now proven that the act of observing affects the phenomena being observed. We are truly the field of awareness of consciousness. So we are presented with a chance to elevate ourselves and evolve. The essence of this conference for the next 3 days is that of deep inner reflection and availing new perspectives to see there is a new way to look into the future with hope, abundance, and love. When we listen to the voice in the head, we get lost in thought forms and are entangled in the tornado of conflicting ideas that seemingly contradict. And that can leave one not only in a state of psychological and physical paralysis, but also dreading one's life. This way of looking at oneself and the world does no good for that person, their peers, or humanity at large. The way we perceive ourselves is a direct reflection of our physical reality we call life. There is no exception to the rule. As we pollute our minds, we will see pollution in the outer world. If we inhabit positivity, love, and hope, we will manifest abundance. We are not here to impose new belief systems to people. Rather, this space is an invitation to explore a new dimension within yourselves to see new perspectives. This is an opportunity to truly awaken your consciousness to see how we can all co-create and dissolve boundaries within ourselves to be open to new experiences, ideas, and life. We will be looking at the importance of education, health, sustainability, exponential technologies, and much more. Now, a little background. I first met our dear President, Osunakachi, just days after the passing of Christopher Haley, the previous CEO. And as Osunakachi and I spoke, we knew we were meant to make a difference in the world together. Now, Osunakachi's environment and those of other Nigerian citizens and of the Igbo tribe, unfortunately, must endure issues from groups that incite terror into the local tribes. As Osunakachi was determined not to be a passive observer, he knew he could make a change. So he created a portal through which we could view the world through abundance and in a transdisciplinary lens. So we founded TAFFD in January of 2019. The history of mankind goes back to Africa. So we believe it is important to bring the light of awareness to the source of creation itself. as we are entering into an era of abundance with exponential and converging technologies, we recognize the need and opportunity for TAFFs serving as a catalyst to leapfrog Africa into abundance and that of the rest of the world. On the conventional side of looking at the issues in Africa, we can see cycles of history repeating itself. But there is no blame to be thrown around, as these cycles of issues are seen repeating itself in the USA, Europe, and various other countries around the world due to the conditioning of the individual and collective mind. So, the first step in creating change is changing the mindset and turning the perspective from viewing the situation as a problem into an opportunity. This subtle shift opens a new door of perspective into a world of opportunities. As we collectively shift our mindset, it is important to hold ourselves accountable, to not fall back into the old patterns of the conditioned mind. The most successful people in the world saw problems as the greatest opportunities. So it would seem bizarre to think why people are not pouring money into Africa, but this is because humanity has segregated and created barriers, so people will only serve their egoic interest in the immediate future. This will get us nowhere, as we have seen already what kind of reality that is bred. Now, collaboration is key to creating global change, but humanity has issues in collaborating. So this is why shifting our consciousness is the first step. If we have defensive barriers within us, we will not be receptive to new ideas and possibilities. Rather, we will just defend our own perspective to protect our illusory identity. The majority of humanity identifies with their beliefs unconsciously, and this unknowingly creates separation within that projects on other people and situations. No person is right or wrong with their beliefs, as they are speaking their own truth. So holding space for open communication is key to bridge new connections and truly seeing new possibilities for an abundant future. Now, money is a tool used to motivate and create change from the surface, but if we focus on money, then we lose sight of the bigger picture and the purpose of what we set out to accomplish. We are looking for truth and meaning in our lives, and to find that deeper dimension we all know exists within us that has infinite potentiality to change the world. Our minds go crazy with ideas, but we have a hard time to slow them down, find synthesis, meaning, and make something useful and actually work it into a plan. Coming together here, this space is for openness of ideas so we can sit back, fully absorb the material, and contribute in manners we see fit that excite each one of us. A diversity of ideas is a web forming to create an entire new picture. Now, I want to say something interesting here. The expression that the invention of coffee shops were ideas having sex, I think is very relevant in the digital age here, as we are all coming from such a unique perspective that we can offer insights that no one else can. But we often do get identified and think that we are this person, including our mind, thoughts, and even the body. But in fact, we are not. We are the universe expressing itself through this body form that acts as a vehicle of information, knowledge bundled in light. So somehow we all have the privilege to be alive and conscious. Now that is what presence is. Finding the beauty in this very moment behind all the noise and chaos we tell ourselves and perceive on the conventional side of the material world. Now, this is why being rooted is so important, so that we don't lose sight of the bigger picture of life and get lost in the dance. This is human madness, as we cannot perceive the impermanence of life, as it is the veil through which we perceive, so we wouldn't know anything any differently. If we live in a state of openness and acceptance of uncertainty and being aware of the impermanent nature of existence, that can set us free. But if the mind then rationalizes this in its habitual ways, it can turn into negative behavior patterns like abusing oneself, drinking alcohol, drugs, and feeling stuck in life, as if there are so many different lives that you could live. And so this is where guilt arises unconsciously, because we aren't able to be confident, truly confident with our decision. Now, even that confidence on the surface level is strengthening the ego, but you are not the ego, you see. That being said, when we can bring presence and acute attention to a specific situation or problems faced in life, we then can fully approach the problem with the mindset of solution as our focus, rather than getting hung up on the little details that don't matter and worrying about how we can get it done, raising money, transport, logistics, and so on. And simply facing it straight on and pulling the root out from under the problem. Negativity is an energy manifest, and this energy is formed into an entity that lives within us if we allow it. But with awareness, it cannot survive in this present moment. Now, Dr. Catherine Demetriades will speak of energy and motion and how this actually affects not just the individual, but the collective psyche, and what can be done to flush out these energies. We are on a quest to find our true selves, each of us. Knowledge is helping us climb the ladder. Now, each of us are our own philosophers, but the dimension beyond thought in spaciousness exists, and that liberates us from fear, pain, anxiety, doubt, and it allows us to be open for new opportunities and life itself. When situations of life come to us and we deny, we are denying our fundamental existence. True wisdom is found in the stillness or gaps between the words, where we are able to reflect and truly see the meaning. When we retain information, as we do every nanosecond of existence, it enters into our subconscious and then plays out in some manner, like a note on the piano at some point in time. Now, exponential technologies such as biotech, AR, VR, quantum physics, 3D printing, AI, and so on, are all extensions of ourselves playing out in the form to which they exist as a tool to enhance ourselves, yes, but not to get lost in the exploration of escaping ourselves in this moment. Conscious adoption of the technologies is key. Otherwise, we will project our negative qualities into these technologies and see exponential negative change. Now, transhumanism is the idea to transcend this body and mind. I mean, we are all already transhumans. And this will come in time as we pay attention to ourselves consciously. And this is truly the merge of science and spirituality, unlike any other time in the history of the universe. We are already one consciousness expressing through us all, which is why we are attracted to this gathering today, so we can collectively merge ideas to bond new connections and find deeper meaning between the lines we already know exists. We know it exists, otherwise we wouldn't be here and we wouldn't go about with intention in our lives. If we can't open our emotional, physical, psychological, and soul to each other, then there would be no reason to even have a conversation because nothing good will come from it. We will just be judging, labeling, and questioning why it is or what it is, rather than consciously listening and letting it sit in before trying to make sense of it right away. Now, with knowing how our thoughts and defense mechanisms manifest our realities, you can think about for a second how an unconscious person running a large country, or even a company or a large country, excuse me, when they feel threatened, they will act out on what they truly think is right, as that is their reality. But that will have a lot of negative side effects. And this will solve nothing on a global scale for an abundant outcome. Now, this is why collectively, consciously making decisions for the greater good is important. And a type of conscious collaboration is here to set ways to which we want to see the world manifest truly. Solve world hunger, water, climate, environment, crime, torture, all the dark forces that exist in the world. We can set this vision here of a unified world where the polarities of yin and yang, masculine, feminine, can be in harmony. And we can have peace on earth and not think of it as some impossible goal. Now, our deeper selves know it is, but we tend to overlook, and it's so subtle every moment. Our ego cannot survive in this present moment. So it feeds and creates new barriers through which you perceive the world through your own lens. If that lens is through anxiety, then you will only see the world through fear and envision a world that is normal to have chaos and problems, and you will actually contribute to that. Now, in one of Eckhart Tolle's retreats, if you all are familiar with him, he's actually my go-to spiritual teacher. He talks about a situation that was just prior to one of his retreats where there was a bomb exploding, and I believe a few dozen people died. And he talks about the reason that this happened was due to the extreme unconscious behavior that manifested. And then he tied that into how we are all at that, we all have those mind patterns. Now, I am not saying that us here, or even the majority of the world, are at such a deep unconscious level, but that does exist within us. And when we identify with this person and with the external thought forms, we set ourselves up for the possibility of harm. Now, my purpose is to truly open my heart to you all and see the world take a shift in myself and allow myself to be a catalyst for others in their own transformation of consciousness. Now, our presenters here are looking to solve humanity's greatest problems. So each project or idea is an attempt to wake us up and unite. Each person will be speaking their own truth. Now, we always want to say what we're thinking, and it's very easy to notice when someone's attention is 20% listening and 80% waiting. Nothing positive will come out of a discussion in this situation because no new information is truly being retained to process and then make progress and develop into new ideas. This is what we see in bad collaborative groups. Now I would say that those group dynamics are of a low frequency or vibration, very unconscious and defensive, because they're always caring about their ego and what other people are thinking about their ideas, and not just being open and letting it free flow. But when we can open ourselves, then we can see these new connections. And so we also want to bring a more unified relationship between the teacher and the student, and truly realize that it is a single entity. There is no teacher without a student, but to truly recognize that we learn not to impose belief systems, because they will not listen and they will question and fight it and put up barriers. So this is why we must be patient and open and okay with not seeing results right away. Now, disasters and chaos in the world do bring us together, because we are forced to save each other as a wake-up call to humanity to change our behavior. Mother Earth is speaking to us, and this is a great opportunity to us all. So I invite us all to suspend prior expectations and beliefs and be open-minded and excited for an abundant future. And so that's all from my side, and I believe we will have a 45-minute break here, and then Idara will begin with her presentation on the crowdfunding idea for in
Wow,
Africa.
brilliant. That's
Thank
really
you.
exceptional. I'm really excited to be part of this. So, okay, wonderful. I do need a break. I'm so nervous, but wow. Okay, so I'll see everyone in a little bit. So should I just log out and then log back later?
Yeah, totally up
Okay,
to you.
cool. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
I do apologise. I was trying to come off mute. I obviously the timings for the schedule for the rest of today is shown on the screen that I'm sharing there. Hopefully everyone's already received some details around timings. Thank you, Will. Very insightful, illuminating, and very. I did hear someone say that the last time that that humanity would be emerging from such a lockdown was 5,000 years ago. So from the last end of the last ice age was the last known time that the planet was and humanity was restricted in its movements to this extent. Yeah, I'm very, very much looking forward to hearing everyone speak, not just today.
That was exceptional.
The screens on share and everything, so the session will be open, so you can come back, as I said, in almost 45 minutes, and we'll be hearing from Idara Essang. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll speak to you again in about
Wonderful.
3 minutes.
Oh my gosh, this is awesome. Okay, thank you. I thought it could be applied to business funding or charity causes. But that was in 2000, 2001. And then in 2010, GoFundMe was founded. And, you know, that's a great company because it allows people to be beneficial, to cause good things to happen. And then subsequently there's been crowdfunding, you know, for business purposes, but I'd long gone beyond those applications. And so what I was proposing is the idea of crowdfunding development of nations, which would in effect be like creating a virtual democracy. And I think that is the most relevant application of the internet to the problems of, you know, of Africa and of course the rest of the world, is to create a platform where, you know, the ordinary citizens convene and they learn and discuss and fund solutions, undertake development projects or economic projects and so forth. And it would accomplish a lot. It would accomplish a lot of things in terms of, it would impact it would be the vehicle to attain the things that William was discussing in terms of evolving evolving the economy so that it's not so much about consumption, as is the case if it's a limited corporation. So now you have people that can convene and discuss and discover and fund solutions that make advances possible in Africa and of course in any country in the world. So that is the idea that I would like to share, and I've created a project for it already called Civica. It's right now on Facebook, and ideally it would be great if it were adapted by Facebook, but we're also building an app for it. But what will happen is this makes TAFFD much more relevant going forward, in that we just don't convene and discuss ideas, but now we'll have a vehicle to implement them. So it's always been my vision that my country and others in the continent develop in collaboration with the best minds, so that the citizens are not at the mercy of just their, you know, leaders. And it's an evolution of the concept of democracy, and it's something that affects a lot of institutions. It affects the educational system, it affects banking, and it affects governance, and it affects industry. But now it's in the form of a collaboration of people. And I think human beings would appreciate this platform, and I hope that is what we intend to develop going forward from here. And perhaps that we can have another formal and much better planned convention of people globally that may be televised, you know, because I think we need to have that conversation. I think we need to come to a place where we can learn and understand the world and create change, and not just be employees and workers and taxpayers involved in like very trivial existence while, you know, the planet is being destroyed. So that is the project that I would like to present, and it solves a lot of problems on the continent in terms of, if you can show the slides, Edward, the PowerPoint presentation that I have, so I can discuss like you know, the advantages of creating this platform, if you have it. Okay, hear me. I'm sorry, was I audible? I didn't realize my volume was okay.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. You're coming through fine. I moved on from your second slide. Did you want me to go back to the second slide?
Yes, the one that has the list of
It's not the initial market.
No, yes, the one that has, yes.
Okay. Okay, please continue.
So yes, so the ultimate, the agenda of creating a convention or conference of great minds to solve the world's problems can best be achieved by creating such a platform where it's a virtual democracy or government of sort, but it's just a platform for citizens of African nations and or anyone to discuss various projects and learn various things. And so the great minds here at TAFFD and anywhere around the world will be a source of influencing development. And I think there's no other or better course of action to proceed from this particular disaster or challenge than to create this platform. And doing this will not only source the capital that is needed, to regenerate employment, but it will cause the change that is needed, and this platform will be a permanent source of change or progress of civilization. So the benefits I was mentioning would be that it would end corruption. Let me see, excuse me. It would here it is. It would end corruption. Here it is. It would bring together individually powerless masses to a formidable interest group with the right and means to act. So now all those people that are oppressed by their politicians and so forth, that are waiting for things to happen and that can pull capital, which is pretty much like how taxation works, except, it gets administered by a few people. But here, what William was discussing becomes possible, where everyone can, learn and contribute ideas and then, carry out and fund the solution. So it will make the capital available for easily at the initiative of each person, and it allows the best things to be developed. So sometimes there's bribes that occur, but with this, everyone presents, project, and it's discussed in all its attributes, and then it's voted for and it's funded, at the initiative of people. And so that would be the ideal application of technology to solving the challenge of, the economic development and the problem of governance in that country, and it would be a model the rest of the world could follow. So I do have this project called Civica. That is in progress, and everyone that hears about it says it makes a lot of sense, and there's so much just inefficiency in government that everyone is like just has had enough, and they're ready to give this an attempt. So I'm hoping that the people that are part of TAFFD will take that on as a function of their organization and deploy it, and and we can do a formal launch and public campaign to gather the people that will participate in the projects to be funded. And yeah, one of the things that this would do is that it would eliminate the conflicts that occur when there's one decision maker, one president, that everybody would want their man to be the president or the senator. So there's conflicts that occur because of that selfish interest. But then in this format, the important thing, the decision that would be made would be the most scientific one, the most aesthetically, just it would be the decisions would be made on different bases, not just the initiative of whatever president or leader is involved. So yeah, so that is my that is what I would like to, that is what I wanted to talk about, and how we could that is how the goal of using technology and the input of diverse people can be achieved. Yes, I do have some initial projects that are in progress. For instance, because I said that this organization has an effect on industry as well. So now you can create industry in a better way than the corporations were creating it. Not only could you fund manufacturing of things that are more healthy because there's not a lot of limit or risk to the to the people that fund, but I have an initial project that can help do something I called to restructure the economy. So we could, because right now the system of the flow of currency is temporarily stopped because of the pandemic. So at this initial stage, if you have such a platform, then they would fund initial philanthropic distribution of food. But then secondly, they would fund the development of technology for working at home, for communications-based kinds of businesses like schools and things and so on. And then, this project would fund agricultural production to reduce food prices because there's a lot of inflation in that economy. So the next thing that they would fund would be like to fund, food production. And then secondly, I mean, the other thing that they would do is to fund different types of business models like nonprofit, markets and grocery stores. And this is informed by the economic theory I was discussing. I mentioned earlier, in which there's always it relies on the circulation of money. So there's certain things that everyone buys, and so if the profits go to a few individuals, it doesn't return back to the market optimally. So one of the things that they could do is fund nonprofit markets, with the proceeds going to pay for salaries of teachers and doctors and policemen. And so in these communities that are developing, you can create an ecosystem that's sustainable of commerce based on the fact that everyone is buying food or gasoline and other essential things. And then ultimately, it could fund the creation of Bitcoin, which I would discuss later. But it's about the fact that to make money sound, it should actually correlate to a real product or service, and it should not just be something that's created to circulate. And it just kind of it just sort of refers to one of the concepts in the theory that I will discuss it later. But if anybody has any questions at this moment, I'll be very happy to take them. Otherwise, I will post about the particular project on my LinkedIn on my LinkedIn profile, so that people can learn more about it. And I think it's probably the most impactful development that could occur with technology at this particular, to solve the particular crisis. It would create a much more conscious kind of economic activity. Yes, and this last slide is referring to the fact that there's as many as 94 million people in my particular country on Facebook. And so even just $1 from them would create about 1.2 or so billion dollars per year. So they would now have that resource, and they would be informed by experts from around the world that would be part of the platform to create the products. I mean, to give, to present the best projects for them to fund. And that's how I think would be the best way, for that continent to develop. So thank you so much. And I'm very, very happy to have made this particular goal of mine, or objective, known. So does anyone have any question about that? Or if not,
we do have just a few minutes before our next speaker. If
yes, I'm done.
Raise your hand if you on the Zoom chat, if you'd like me to unmute you.
Anyone has any questions? Okay, great.
You covered quite a lot there, Idara, and I'm sure it sparked a lot of probably similar thoughts that others may have had at some point, but I think you put it across very well. Thank you very much, and we look forward to for a much greater and longer collaboration with yourself.
Okay, wonderful. I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you very much. And on behalf of everyone else, I will just clap since everyone else is muted. But thank you very much, Idara. So next up, we have Raj Gupta in literally 5 minutes. So I'll put the go on mute and while Raj connects, and we'll get his slide sorted out. And so you've got a 5-minute comfort break. Thank you very much. To Moti, excuse me, who'll be covering the subjects of systemic analysis of change drivers in the next decades. My mouse will work. There we go. And Victor, I think he's online already. He will be joining us from Turkey. And we will welcome him, as I say, in about an hour and 15 minutes. So I do apologise for the delay in the proceedings this morning. As you can imagine, with the rest of the world, we're all having to find new ways of interacting. I know probably a lot of people are already using things similar to Zoom and WebEx and what have you, but certainly it's having been involved with public speaking and conferences for about 26 years. This is my very first online conference, and no better way than to celebrate that with TAFFD, and obviously this coming as an online conference. And it was unfortunate that we couldn't all meet up in Rwanda, but never say never. We will soon be past these restrictions, and we'll be meeting face to face. So I'll once again I'll look to oh, someone says, I've just had a notice, someone's got their hand up. Hang on a second. Hello, you're unmuted.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm calling in from Nigeria. I actually wanted to ask a question. My question goes to Idara, but I don't know if she's still online. I wanted to ask the question on
here.
Okay, Idara. Good afternoon.
Hello.
My question is on making plans possible to integrate macro and micro economics. How will one want to get that solved in a country, Nigeria?
Oh, hi, Kachi. Yes, the concept I was speaking about does allow, it does impact governance as well. And that can be done as far as because I'm not a professionally trained economist, but as far as I know about macro and microeconomics, is that the platform would source capital from the public, and then it would work with government, so it would help fund government projects. So that's the lines I was thinking. It may not even be correct, but so rather than government borrowing money from a foreign source, it would get the capital from the public from this platform. So the people are funding their own country and they owe themselves, And you know, in economics, I think what happens is government collects taxes from the marketplace that it uses
Exactly.
to fund its services. And so, you know, when it does this kind of project, for instance, if it needs to build, you know, a road network or so, you know, it would come, the money would come from the public. This does already happen in terms of when they issue bonds and stuff like that. But I think this platform would be less formal. You know, it wouldn't be just like, you know, buying bonds. It would just be contributing money to that project. But that's along the line I was thinking.
Okay, that means if the project is going to be funded by the individual, is it going to be a long-term project or a short-term project?
No, whatever the time frame that it takes is, the total capital for it could be collected, or it could be done in stages. So it could be any type of project, you know, however long it would take to build, and the cost of it. It's just the simple thing that people would just try and you know, do the work themselves instead of waiting for, yeah.
The government. Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
exactly. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. I got that.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
I need a new driving lesson in how to come off mute. So apologies for that. Thank you very much for that question and raising your hand. So again, throughout the rest of the conference program, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. I do have a number of people assisting me to identify that you've raised your hand. Excuse me, and we'll obviously address those questions as they come up. Normally at the end of the presentations, but again, you know, it's quite a fluid. We do have some gaps between the presentations, so we do have time for questions and dialogue. So if there aren't any other questions, I will give you a short break until 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which will be 4:30 British Standard Time. And I won't impress you by not knowing all the different time differences in your local vicinity. So once again, thank you very much. We will resume with our colleague Victor Marti from Turkey in an hour and 10 minutes. Thank you very much.